The Texas Department of Transportation, Houston District, would like to welcome you to this virtual public meeting with an in-person open house. This presentation will provide information on the proposed Interstate 10 or I-10 Inner Katy Corridor Managed Lanes project. This is a pre-recorded presentation. My name is Mike Zentek, and I am part of the project team. I would like to thank you for participating in this public meeting. During the virtual presentation, you may pause the video and navigate forward or backward using your video player. If you have any technical difficulties accessing the public meeting information, need special accommodations, or speak a language other than English or Spanish and have interpretation needs, please contact Gabriel Adame at 713-802-5199. Details on how to submit comments will be provided further in the presentation. The virtual public meeting is being held in conjunction with an in-person open house. The open house will be held on Thursday, February 8th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Texas Department of Transportation, located at 7600 Washington Avenue, Houston, Texas 77007. The information presented in the virtual public meeting and the in-person open house is identical, and the opportunities to comment do not differ. After listening to input from the community in 2021, TxDOT developed two build alternatives that would meet the purpose of reducing congestion and improving mobility on I-10. The project team is asking for feedback on each of these alternatives to determine how to proceed. This meeting also offers an opportunity for the project team to address any questions or concerns from the community. In this presentation, I will first outline the notification process leading up to this public meeting. Then I will provide an overview of the project, discuss background information, and explain the need for and purpose of the project, followed by a detailed discussion of the proposed alternatives. Next steps information will be provided, followed by the environmental discussion. Toward the end of this presentation, there are instructions on how to submit written comments, as well as contact information for TxDOT. In preparation for this public meeting, notices in both English and Spanish were published on the TxDOT webpage on January 9th, 2024. Elected officials were notified of this public meeting by mail and email on January 19th, 2024. Notices in both English and Spanish were then mailed to adjacent landowners January 22nd, 2024. Approximately 43,000 bilingual postcards were mailed out using Everydoor Direct on January 18th, 2024 to mailboxes in neighborhoods adjacent to the project within the 77007, 77008, 77009, 77024, and 77055 zip codes. Informative flyers in English and Spanish were hand-delivered to local community facilities, gathering places, and apartment complexes in the vicinity on January 23, 2024. Notices were also published in The Leader and La Prensa de Houston on January 20th and 28th, 2024 in English and Spanish, respectively. Online notices were also posted in Community Impact, La Voz, and The Leader. TxDOT advertised the meeting on roadside variable message signs along I-10 from January 23rd to February 8th, 2024. In addition, links to the meeting notice were posted on the TxDOT Facebook page and TxDOT Houston District X page, formerly known as Twitter. The proposed project is located within Harris County along I-10 between Voss Road and I-45. The length of the project is approximately 6.3 miles long. The proposed project would be funded with a combination of federal and state dollars. Information can also be found in the project handout or on the project website. A QR code for the website will be shared later in the presentation, along with information on how to submit your comments on the alternatives being considered. Let's talk about why TxDOT is proposing improvements to this section of I-10. The Inner Katy portion of I-10 was ranked the 7th most congested roadway in the state by the Texas Transportation Institute in 2023. Between 2018 and 2023, the annual average daily traffic on I-10 has increased approximately 20,000 vehicles a day and is projected to increase an additional 130,000 vehicles a day by 2038. The U.S. Department of Transportation has identified I-10, shown in the color green, as a primary freight highway within the country. Primary freight highways are those that are the most critical for freight transportation across the country. It is important to the movement of goods across the nation, Texas, and Houston itself. Congestion increases the cost and delivery time of commodities such as Amazon deliveries, groceries, and commercial goods. The Port of Houston is the nation's largest port for waterborne tonnage and an essential economic engine for the Houston region. According to the 2018 TxDOT Economic Role of Freight in Texas study, it is estimated that more than 60 million tons of freight use I-10 through Houston Center every year. The value of this volume of freight is estimated to be over $130 billion annually. Major rainfall events, such as Hurricane Harvey in 2017 and Tropical Storm Imelda in 2019, have caused hazardous road conditions and flooding. This flooding has reduced mobility and access to local and regional destinations during flood events. Expanded drainage infrastructure is needed to improve storm resiliency on I-10. And finally, this slide illustrates the gap in the regional managed lanes network. For those traveling eastbound into downtown on I-10, they must exit the I-10 managed lanes near Silver Road and merge into the general purpose lanes. Conversely, commuters leaving downtown to go westbound cannot enter the I-10 managed lanes until they pass the I-610 loop near Antoine Drive. After identifying the needs, the project team developed a purpose statement for the proposed project. The purpose of the project is to reduce congestion, improve mobility, and enhance drainage on I-10 from Voss Road to I-45. Another desirable goal is to enhance managed lane system connectivity. In addition to this project, TxDOT is also advancing two projects to meet transportation needs for the region. The I-10 from Heights Boulevard to I-45 project is shown in the orange dotted line and is currently in the design phase. This project proposes to raise the I-10 general purpose lanes above the base flood elevation to improve resiliency during major rainfall events. The project is currently scheduled to start construction in 2025. TxDOT is also progressing the I-45 North Houston Highway Improvement Project, or NHHIP. This project, shown in purple, will include improvements to I-45. This project will be constructed in phases, and the first phase is scheduled to begin construction in 2024. Information about these two projects is available on the TxDOT Houston District website. Metro is advancing the Inner Katy Metro Rapid Bus Lanes project on the south side of the I-10 general purpose lanes within TxDOT right-of-way, shown in yellow on the slide. TxDOT will continue to coordinate with Metro to ensure that any alternative considered for the Inner Katy Corridor Managed Lanes project also accommodates the space needed for the Metro Rapid Bus Lanes project. Construction is expected to be completed by early 2028. These three projects, together with TxDOT's Inner Katy Corridor Managed Lanes project, would complement each other to meet regional transportation mobility, connectivity, and resiliency needs. However, it should be noted that while they are intended to complement each other, they can also function on their own. If one project does not progress through the process to construction, the others could still be constructed to fulfill their independent project goals. Now that we've had a brief project overview, discussed why improvements are needed, and summarized the goals for the project, let's walk through a bit of project history. I will also provide updates on where the project team is now and how you can help. Due to the COVID restrictions in place at the time, TxDOT held a virtual public meeting for proposed Inner Katy improvements in February 2021. This virtual public meeting presented preliminary I-10 Inner Katy concepts that included drainage improvements and managed lanes. Metro also participated in this meeting and presented their proposed Metro Rapid dedicated bus lanes facility within the Inner Katy Corridor. There were a total of 912 attendees and 118 comments were received. Top concerns included traffic noise, project need, flooding and drainage, right-of-way needs, and impacts to natural resources. The QR code shown on the screen provides a link to the TxDOT Public Hearings, Meetings, and Notices website. Here you can access the current project page where TxDOT has posted the 2021 public meeting summary and comments. After the public meeting was held in 2021, TxDOT and the Houston-Galveston Area Council performed a regional travel demand analysis for I-10 between I-610 and I-45. The analysis used modeling software to simulate how different lane configurations would handle future vehicle volumes using the least possible amount of right-of-way. In this case, modelers used predicted traffic numbers for the year 2045. It should be noted that all simulations incorporated Metro's rapid bus lane project. The various options that were considered include no build. This option would not change the number of I-10 general purpose lanes nor add any additional managed lanes. The no build option includes Metro's plan to construct elevated Metro rapid bus lanes. Modify access. This option would consolidate on and off ramps between I-10 and I-45 to reduce congestion that occurs due to lane changes at ramps and would maintain the existing number of general purpose lanes in each direction. 4 options were considered to add managed lanes. The first option would add 1 managed lane in each direction while maintaining the existing number of general purpose lanes in each direction. The second option would add 1 managed lane in each direction but would reduce the number of general purpose lanes to 4 lanes in each direction. The third option would add 2 managed lanes in each direction while maintaining the existing number of general purpose lanes in each direction. The fourth option would add 2 managed lanes in each direction but would reduce the number of general purpose lanes to 4 lanes in each direction. The project team then studied how many people per day each configuration would accommodate. Traffic analysis indicated that the no-build option would have a capacity of approximately 380,000 people a day traveling this portion of I-10. 4 of the 5 options evaluated would only slightly increase the number of people I-10 could accommodate per day. The option that proposed to add 2 managed lanes in each direction while maintaining the 5 general purpose lanes in each direction would provide the most benefits by facilitating the movement of approximately 460,000 people a day to travel this portion of I-10. While congestion on the general purpose lanes is anticipated to return to existing levels in 2045, the managed lanes are anticipated to maintain free flow conditions during peak travel times. Taking the results of the study, the engineering team conceptually designed alternatives that could provide this lane configuration. The next part of the presentation will provide an overview of the alternatives being considered and for which TxDOT is seeking your input. This slide illustrates a typical cross-section of the I-10 general purpose lanes and frontage roads as they look today. Within the existing right-of-way, the roadway is 5 lanes in each direction, with 12-foot wide general purpose lanes and shoulders that are generally 8 to 10 foot wide. Discontinuous frontage roads are 2 to 3 12-foot wide lanes in each direction. There are existing 6-foot wide sidewalks along the frontage road. Existing right-of-way is approximately 415 feet wide and is shown in red on the outsides of the typical section. This slide illustrates a proposed typical section, or a cross-section, of what the road would look like with Alternative 1, elevated managed lanes. This alternative generally fits within the existing right-of-way that is approximately 415 feet wide. Alternative 1 follows the recommendations from the regional travel demand analysis that we talked about earlier and would retain the same number of general purpose lanes, 5 in each direction. The general purpose lanes would be reconstructed to meet current design standards, including improved height clearances at bridge crossings. This alternative would add 4 elevated managed lanes, 2 in each direction, in the center of the I-10 corridor. The westbound and eastbound frontage roads would be reconstructed to meet current design standards. A 10-foot wide shared use path for pedestrians and bicyclists would be added along the westbound frontage road. The sidewalk along the eastbound frontage road would be reconstructed. Drainage culverts would be installed under the roadway to improve the drainage system capacity to be more resilient during major rainfall events. As noted earlier in the presentation, Metro plans to construct elevated Metro rapid bus lanes on the south side of the I-10 corridor between the eastbound general purpose lanes and the eastbound frontage road within TxDOT right-of-way as shown on the right side of this illustration. While Alternative 1 would generally fit within the existing right-of-way limits, a small acquisition of approximately 0.34 of an acre would be needed near White Oak Bayou from property that is owned by the Harris County Flood Control District. This acquisition would be needed for braided ramp structural support. No other right-of-way is anticipated because this alternative was designed to fit within the existing right-of-way in response to community concerns expressed in the 2021 virtual public meeting. No displacements are anticipated as a result of this additional right-of-way. This slide illustrates a proposed typical section for Alternative 2, non-elevated managed lanes. This alternative would add 4 managed lanes, 2 in each direction, placed in the center of the I-10 corridor at the same elevation as the general purpose lanes, 5 in each direction as shown on this slide. The general purpose lanes would be reconstructed to meet current design standards and to provide for improved bridge height clearances. This alternative also follows the recommendations from the Regional Travel Demand Analysis. Alternative 2 would typically require an additional 60 feet of right-of-way along the majority of the corridor to accommodate the proposed improvements. The total anticipated right-of-way acquisitions would be approximately 12.54 acres along the westbound frontage road. All other project elements, such as shared use paths, sidewalks, improved frontage roads, and the expanded drainage system, would be the same as described for Alternative 1. TxDOT also considered a configuration of non-elevated lanes with right-of-way expansion along the eastbound frontage lanes. This alternative was eliminated from further consideration because of the major conflicts with the Metro Rapid bus lanes, which will be constructed within the TxDOT right-of-way to the south of the eastbound general purpose lanes. Alternative 2 would require widening of TxDOT's right-of-way north of I-10 along the westbound frontage road for a majority of the Inner Katy Corridor. Acquisitions would total 12.54 acres and would require an estimated displacement of 52 residences and 30 commercial structures. Shown here is the estimated right-of-way need for I-10 between Washington Avenue and TxDOT Boulevard. This alternative would require the acquisition of a 0.53 acre from the Cottage Grove Park and triggers Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act of 1966. Now that we have discussed the typical sections of the two proposed alternatives, we will explain the details of the proposed project along the corridor. Both alternatives 1 and 2 would include minor reconstruction and restriping along I-10 between Voss Road and I-610 to add the 4 proposed managed lanes within existing right-of-way. Access to the Northwest Transit Center would be maintained. Vehicles would be able to access managed lanes connections for US 290 using the same ramp connections that are present today. The I-10 I-610 interchange would not be reconstructed, with either of the alternatives being considered. For both alternatives 1 and 2, all cross streets between Washington Avenue and Heights Boulevard would be reconstructed and would provide accommodations for bicyclists and pedestrians within TxDOT's right-of-way. This slide shows the bicycle and pedestrian elements that would be built on all cross streets in the project. As shown, there would be a 5-foot wide buffer area between the vehicle lanes and the 5-foot wide bike lane and 7-foot wide sidewalk. The two-way streets, Washington Avenue, TxDOT Boulevard, Patterson Street, Yale Street, and Heights Boulevard, would have pedestrian elements on both sides of the roadway. The one-way streets, Durham Drive and Shepherd Drive, would have pedestrian elements on one side of the roadway. These pedestrian elements on the cross streets are proposed for both alternative options. On I-10 today, the entrance and exit ramps are placed close together, which increases congestion because drivers slow down to merge on or off the highway and decreases safety because of the short distance to make lane changes. To improve operations, braided ramps would be proposed for both Alternative 1 and 2 between TxDOT Boulevard and Durham Drive and between Patterson and Yale Streets. Braided ramps are when entrance and exit ramps cross paths but are physically separated with one ramp crossing over the other. Examples of braided ramps can be seen today on the I-10 westbound on-ramp from Antoine Drive and the exit ramp from I-10 westbound to Chimney Rock Wirt Road. These improved ramps would maintain access while minimizing right-of-way acquisition and providing the required distance vehicles need to maneuver safely. The locations of the proposed braided ramps would not change current access to and from the cross streets. For the proposed alternatives, there would not be enough space along I-10 eastbound between Heights Boulevard and Studemont Street to accommodate all of the existing ramps and the proposed Metro Rapid bus lanes within the existing right-of-way. The proposed ramp configuration for both alternatives 1 and 2 in this section of I-10 is illustrated on the slide. The proposed configuration includes an eastbound entrance ramp from Patterson Street and a separate entrance ramp from Yale Street and Heights Boulevard. There would be a single exit ramp to Yale Street, Heights Boulevard, and Studemont Street. Eastbound traffic exiting to Studemont Street would travel on the frontage road through the Yale Street and Heights Boulevard signalized intersections to access Studemont Street. Additionally, a U-turn is proposed on the eastbound frontage road at Yale Street. TxDOT is seeking your input regarding the two alternatives presented in this meeting. This slide shows the similarities between the two alternatives being considered. The next slide will detail the differences. Both alternatives would not require the reconstruction of the I-610 and I-10 interchange This interchange would only be restriped to accommodate each proposed managed lane alternative. Maintain access to the Northwest Transit Center. Retain ramp access in generally the same locations with the exception of the I-10 eastbound exit to Studemont Street, which would be combined with the exit to Yale Street and Heights Boulevard. Include ramp improvements to bring the ramps up to current safety standards. Improve drainage system and enhance resiliency during major rainfall events. Provide accommodations for pedestrians and cyclists. This evaluation matrix shows the differences between Alternative 1, Alternative 2, and the no-build option. Alternative 1 and 2 would improve congestion, enhance connectivity, improve drainage, accommodate Metro Rapids Bus Rapid Transit project, and meet the purpose and need. The no-build option would not meet these criteria. Alternative 1 would require the acquisition of 0.34 acres of Harris County flood control property and would not result in any displacements of residential or commercial property. Alternative 2 would acquire 12.5 acres of strip acquisitions along I-10 and would potentially require the acquisition and displacement of 52 residences and 30 commercial structures. Alternative 2 would include the acquisition of 0.53 acres from the 5.15-acre Cottage Grove Park. While the need for additional right-of-way is undecided at this time, if you are interested in learning more about the TxDOT right-of-way acquisition process, information may be found on the TxDOT webpage at the web address listed on this slide or by scanning the QR code. We want to highlight the estimated project timeline. Look for the green "We Are Here" arrow at the top left of your screen. After the comment period closes, the project team will review the comments received, make appropriate design changes, and prepare official public meeting documentation. Public meeting documentation will be posted to the project meeting webpage when completed after the close of the comment period. The next steps include selecting a preferred alternative and beginning the environmental study. Then a public hearing would be held to share the results of the environmental assessment prior to an environmental decision being made. Then once a decision is made, detailed design activities and right-of-way acquisition processes would begin. A construction letting date is anticipated for late 2027, with groundbreaking activities anticipated to start early 2028. The project team estimates that construction would be implemented in phases and would take approximately 6 to 8 years to complete all phases. This project is anticipated to receive federal funds, and because of the federal component, TxDOT is required to assess the potential environmental effects of the proposed project in accordance with federal standards. The process that is followed is called the National Environmental Policy Act process, otherwise known as NEPA. The NEPA process provides analyses of the potential impacts to the natural and man-made environment and helps the decision maker to make an informed decision on whether or not to proceed with the project. On December 9, 2019, TxDOT received a signed memorandum of understanding from the Federal Highway Administration that permits TxDOT to assume responsibility from the Federal Highway Administration for reviewing and approving certain assigned NEPA projects. This review and approval process applies to this project. After the selection of an alternative, the project team will identify and evaluate potential environmental impacts that could occur as a result of constructing the selected alternative. Areas that would be reviewed include biological resources, community impacts, environmental justice, water resources, hazardous materials, archaeological resources, historic resources, air quality, and traffic noise. Once completed, technical reports documenting the analysis and conclusions of these studies will be summarized in an environmental document that will be made available. TxDOT encourages you to review the materials regarding the proposed project and provide feedback. You may submit comments in the following ways. Download the comment card from the project webpage, www.texdot.gov/projects/hearings-meetings.html, and email to hou-piowebmail@texdot.gov. Fill out the comment card at the open house and drop in the comment box. Or mail the comment card to TxDOT Houston District, attention Advanced Project Development Director, P.O. Box 1386, Houston, Texas 77251-1386. Comments must be received or postmarked by February 26 to be included in the public meeting documentation. Responses to verbal and written comments received during the comment period will be included in the public meeting documentation that will be posted on the project webpage when complete. Please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions, And feel free to contact Stephanie Gio at the TxDOT Houston District Office by phone at 832-627-9795 or email at sguill-c@txdot.gov with any questions or comments at any time during the project development process. And don't forget to click on these links and follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, for ongoing road closures and construction updates on the Houston District X page. You may also keep up with TxDOT News on our Facebook page or follow us on our Instagram page. November 7th, 2000 was the last deathless day on roadways in Texas. That means for over 2 decades, at least one person has died every single day. We all have a part to play to change that. This message is that reminder to end the streak of deaths on Texas highways. We need drivers and passengers to act more responsibly and help us reach our goal of 0 deaths by 2050. Texans can play a major role in ending fatal crashes with a few simple driving habits. Wear seatbelts, drive the speed limit, put away the phone and other distractions, and never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So please do your part and share this message with your friends and family. Thank you for participating in this public meeting. Please remember to submit your comments no later than Monday, February 26, 2024, to be included in the official public meeting documentation.